Whether you're looking for answers to specific life questions or seeking to become the best version of you possible, welcome to the Mental Breakdown and Psychreg podcast, where we offer insight, information, and strategies based upon research and years of practice as clinical psychologists. So sit back, have a listen, and get connected with our hosts, Dr. Berney Wilkinson and Dr. Richard Marshall. Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about who we are and what influences who we are.
That's right.
And this comes from an article from Psychology Today, written by Beverly Flaxington, who's at Suffolk University.
In England?
I must be England.
They probably have a football team.
Probably.
Do they?
Probably.
You don't know?
No, I don't know.
I thought you knew all that stuff about those English teams.
Well, not universities. I don't know about
Well,
universities.
Suffolk is a city in England.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they do. At least one.
Okay. What this is about, the reason I like this one is because when we teach child development, one of the cardinal principles is you don't tell children they're smart or they're good or they're bad because of the work that they produce.
Right.
Okay. It's just over and over and over.
Right.
We teach it. We write about it. You don't define yourself by your successes and failures.
Right.
Okay. And that's what this article is about. When we say you are not your circumstances, whether they're good or bad.
Right.
You know, just because a child behaves in the grocery store doesn't mean you're good. You were well behaved in the grocery store. And just because a child gets an A on a paper doesn't mean you're smart. And if you get an F on a paper, it doesn't mean you're stupid.
Right.
Okay. So the events that occur in our life should not define us.
Right.
If you lose your job, it's not because you're a bad person or you're incompetent. Right. You lost your job for any number of reasons. It has nothing to do with who you are as a person.
Right.
So that's kind of what this article is about.
So yeah, as you said, the title is "You Are Not Your Circumstances: How to Rise Above What Holds You Down," which is pretty clever.
Right.
And so I too like this idea a lot because we oftentimes, especially in adolescence, but we do it as adults as well, we attempt to define ourselves based upon our performances or our actions or our behaviors in different particular settings. And we know from just from a life perspective, that it's not true. I mean, there are times when we behave very well, and there are times when we fail to behave the way that we should, and neither of them is really who we are.
Neither should define us.
Right.
Right.
Because our identity, we've talked about this before,
Right.
Our identity really gets into the full developmental phase during adolescence. We're working really hard to figure out who we are and what we stand for and sort of the person we're meant to be during adolescence. And that is, we really come to more of an awareness through our 20s.
Right.
We don't, there are those who say that you're not really a person until you're in your mid-20s.
Well,
because by then you're starting to get a pretty good idea.
Of who you are.
You may have, you should have finished high school certainly by then, maybe finished college. Or at least in the workforce. And so you're starting to get this idea of who you are.
Right.
And hopefully, you're not, you haven't lived in such a way that you are defining yourself based upon these particular events in your life.
That's right. And the other issue is that we believe that we have control over. We don't have as much control as we think we have. So because events tend to be more random, and we don't control all the events. What if? I mean, we've been through enough economic cycles, even in your short lifetime, to know that, like what happened in 2008, but with the crash of the market, we weren't part. I mean, that was a random event. However it was caused, it was a random event. There was no way for most of us to predict that was going to occur, but it had a profound effect on all of us. Right. But we had no control over that. And it's the same with losing a job. You may lose a job for a decision that was made had done absolutely nothing to do with you. Okay. Events occur, and you can't let the event define who you are. Because the events happen randomly.
It's sort of along the same lines of the argument we make against participation trophies.
Right.
Because you give children, and again, we've said this before, early on, 3, 4, 5, giving participation trophies is fine there because the idea is reinforcing the effort and reinforcing that they are participating and being actively involved. After that point, though, kids are very aware of who wins and who loses and
who the best players are.
Right. They become much more aware of that because they can hold sort of two ideas in their mind at the same time, that this is me, that's them, and they can compare and contrast. But that they have to reach that developmental level, and that's usually early elementary school before they can do that.
That's right.
Up until that point, kids still think that they are the best at everything, despite the fact that other kids outrun them.
Right.
But the issue with participation trophies is that at those older ages, it's teaching that it's giving this false impression that you are a winner even if you haven't won, and so it sort of lays the groundwork for this false impression of who they are based upon these circumstances that are somewhat artificial.
I participated, so I should get rewarded.
Right.
No, that's not how it works. Okay. The other thing that we should become to protect ourselves from this, from defining ourselves by what happens to us, is we have to develop some objectivity. By objectivity, we mean that if this had happened to a friend, how would you view it? Would you condemn the friend and say, "Oh, you're a loser. You're that"? No, you wouldn't say that to a friend. But yet, that's how we talk to ourselves.
Exactly.
I must be a loser. I must be a failure. I failed this course, so I must be. Maybe you failed the course for some unrelated reason, had nothing to do with you. So we encourage people to talk to themselves in the same way that you talk to your good friends.
Right.
You wouldn't trash them.
Right.
You wouldn't throw them out. You wouldn't beat them when they're down.
Right.
But we tend to do that to ourselves.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. In this article, Beverly mentions 4 things that we should avoid doing, and that's one of them.
That's
refraining from degrading or either degrading or inflating comments about ourselves.
And I like that she says that, because she said, don't denigrate yourself, but also don't inflate yourself unrealistically.
Right.
You can go in either direction.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The second thing that she mentions is, remember that everyone wins some and everyone loses some.
Yeah. I love that. We all do yin and yang.
Yeah.
Yang. We win some, we lose some.
Yeah. I mentioned in a previous podcast that I was part of that social media thing at a middle school last week. And one of the things that I was trying to share with the parents and said in a pretty direct way is that in order to find success, you have to fail.
Right.
And we have to win some, we have to lose some.
That's right.
That's the normal part of life. And again, that doesn't define us.
And when we interviewed Yannick Jacob the other day,
that podcast comes out in a couple
weeks. And he said the same thing, that you have to stretch, you have to go beyond where you are, because if you're going to stagnate if you don't. Okay, you have to keep pushing and pushing and pushing.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you are going to, because you're constantly pushing yourself, you are going to fall short sometime.
Right.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Yeah. We fall short all the time.
Right. But you can't. It's dangerous to define yourself as, I'm a winner.
Right.
No. You did well at this task. Doesn't make you a winner. You did well at this task. Now go back and do something else.
Right.
And third
thing is practice normalizing with a buddy.
Right.
That's what I'm here for you for.
I love you, man.
I got to keep you grounded.
Okay.
But
gotta switch positions.
But it is this idea of keeping ourselves grounded by having someone there to help keep us grounded.
That's right. By talking to somebody else, by keeping yourself on an even keel. Don't go too far in this direction and don't go too far in that direction.
Right. So you need to have someone there when you say, man, I'm the best, that they can say, I remember that time the other week when
let me remind
you were crying on the couch because you couldn't do something that you wanted to do.
That's right.
But having that person there who can be honest with you and be supportive when they need to be supportive and realistic when they need to be realistic and honest.
And you can ask that person, what should I have done different? Is there anything that I could have done? Because it's hard for us to generate our own solutions, but somebody else looking at it from a fresh perspective can say, yeah, if I were you, I would have done this. Or did you consider this? Or did you think about that? And so you get accustomed to how can I make things better? Right. If you're conversing with somebody, then you can have that same conversation with yourself. Right. And that's what the fourth one is.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, this is off script, but we had that conversation yesterday because we was it yesterday or when we interviewed Yannick? Okay. Because that interview went differently, a little bit differently than we had planned because the way that we were going and conversing. And we talked about it afterwards because because of the way that things went, there were some things that you and I needed to talk about. And it was great because I really appreciated it because this is our personal conversation. This is going to be a personal therapy session here.
Don't touch me. Just don't touch me. Talk.
Because Yannick and I, we were talking about some different things and everything, and you had some questions that you wanted to ask, and we didn't get a chance to get to those questions because we had to go, and so it was good for us to talk about how we can adjust things in the future so that it's a better perhaps interview from the listener's perspective.
Right. And so that's what you do. You talk about these things. Right. You know, how do I make it better?
Right.
Otherwise, you're stuck, as he said, you're stuck in the same place all the time.
Right. and so we can make adjustments. And again, you know, that's what that buddy is for, so that you can have somebody to bring you back down or to lift you up when you need to, and to help you recognize that those failures and successes are moments in time and not part of who you are.
And we learn how to solve our own problems by helping other people solve theirs, and by them helping us solve our problems. Right. It's a good learning experience.
Right. Yeah. In medicine, we say see one, do one, teach one. Because that's sort of the model that you follow for learning something. You see somebody do it, then you do it yourself, and then you teach someone to do it. And that teaching part, that interactive part, is what really solidifies your understanding of something. So now, number 4 is be careful of your self-talk. You have to be careful how you talk to yourself about these things. It kind of echoes some of that from numbers 1 and 2, that you don't want to say anything too inflating or too degrading to yourself, but you just have to be careful what you're saying to yourself in general.
That's right. How are you talking to yourself, and would you talk to a friend the way you talk to yourself?
Right.
And typically we would say no. I would never say that to a friend. Well, then don't say it to yourself.
Absolutely. So
but take a look at this article. It's good advice.
Yeah,
good perspective.
Links in the show notes. So check it out and see what you think. And of course, write to us if you have any questions or comments or thoughts about it. We'd love to hear from you. So that's it for today.
Okay.
All right. So
what day is today?
Today is today.
Today's today.
So until next time.
I've never asked that question again.
Well, we're recording this on a Wednesday. It's going to be posted on a Wednesday.
Today's Wednesday.
It's going to be posted a week from today.
I know.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not completely oblivious. Despite...
not too inflating. Not too... I'll be your buddy.
Okay.
So that's it for today. So until next time, stay happy, stay healthy, and forget to be afraid.